Hello, I'm Mrs. Bjork, and I thought it would be easier if I recorded everything that I would be saying to you the first day of class. That way you can see my face and you can maybe better understand me because my face and voice won't be muffled by a mask. So I'm Mrs. Bjork, like I said, and you are in the art room. We have two art rooms here at the school. Hopefully you've already experienced the other art room with Mr. Lamp. We have a new art teacher, actually. Her name is Miss Olson, and she's teaching the intro to art classes, and she also has the sculpture classes. So pretty much all of the classes Mr. Lamp used to teach, she is now teaching. So, and no, it is not Miss Olson who was the student teacher last year. It's a different one. So, all right, we're going to talk a little bit about the rules of the art room here and just kind of get into things a little bit. So, So hopefully you've all heard that song, but I think Aretha said it best, and later in the song she spells it out, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. So respect is the main rule of the art room. Personally, I think it should be the main rule of the whole school because it covers everything. So let's talk a little bit about that. So if we have respect, we are basically taking care of everything. So if you respect yourself, first of all, you're coming to class highly motivated in a very positive place. If you are dealing with sad feelings or difficult feelings, you're working through those in a positive way, and you are being respectful to yourself. You're being respectful to your classmates. You're remembering that, you know, they're in a different place than you are. Everyone's got different things going on in their lives, and we need to be respectful of each other. And we need to make sure that we are having that empathy that, you know, maybe we don't know what's going on with that person. So let's be respectful of each other. Respect for the teacher. I'm going to be respectful of you, and I would expect you to respect me. So when I'm talking to you, I expect you to be quiet. I expect you to have your eyes facing me. If you're in a virtual meeting, in a Zoom meeting, you should have your camera turned on and you should be looking at me. You shouldn't be sitting there eating or laying in bed or whatever. You should be at class, which means you're sitting at a table or a desk and your camera's turned on and you are cued in to this class, okay? So respect for the teacher. And I'll talk about cell phones here as well. So this year we're not using the phone caddies. You're being asked to actually carry your phone with you, but to keep it in your backpack. If you're at home having class virtually, your phone is going to be wherever. So I'm going to ask you to kind of do that same thing and to have your phone put away during class, during virtual class. Set it aside, put it in a drawer, put it somewhere where it will not distract you. So again, to me, that's all part of respect, not just for me, but for your classmates too, and for yourself. This way you are setting up the best learning environment for yourself, whether you're at school or not. Speaking of phones, mine just went off. Hang on a sec. Oops, I did not turn it off. Ah, that's awesome. I love when stuff like that happens. All right, putting it back away. So the other thing that we should have respect for is a respect for the materials. You guys are really lucky to have a fantastic facility here at Pewaukee High School. There's lots of cool equipment that you're going to get to use. There's lots of fantastic art materials. I try to buy Like, you know, I can't buy the most expensive stuff out there, but I try to buy really good, high quality art materials so that you guys have a good experience with the media that you choose to use in my classes. So it's important to be respectful of that. That means that if you are signing out a set of, say, the fancy Tombow markers, which are the blendable water-based markers that cost like $35 a set, you are making sure that you don't lose them. You are making sure that you return them to me in the condition they were. You're making sure you're not pressing really hard and smashing the tips to them. If you're using paintbrushes, you are washing them thoroughly and making sure that they stay nice and clean. The brushes I buy should last for 2 years at least. Last year, the brushes I opened at the beginning of the year had to be thrown away in March, you know, and that wasn't because of COVID, it was because they were trashed. So respect for materials is important. If you're in a digital art class, you're going to also have the opportunity to use cameras and tablets, the Mac computers, a lot of lighting equipment, and all of those materials. When you do get to use them, I'll be giving you directions on how. So being respectful of them, treating them well, so that they don't get wrecked, so that they're not stolen or broken while you're using them. Again, it's all about respect. And then last but not least, I expect you to be respectful of the atmosphere in this room, whether it's the virtual room or the real physical room. I expect a lot of my students. I want an atmosphere of learning where we can take risks with our art, where we can make art, where we can try things, where we can maybe fail at things, but fail in a positive way. So I want the space that we inhabit as learners to be a respectful environment. And I want you to come to class every day, you know, really ready to embrace all of those policies, okay? So the other big thing about this year is that, you know, we've got this thing called COVID, and that's why we have such an odd schedule this year. So we need to be extra careful in the art room. This is a space where there's a lot of high touch areas. All of you are going to have an art kit, whether you're virtual or whether you're in person. And your art kit will contain the materials that you need for class, for the first units that we're going to be covering. And then you'll get a chance to trade out some of the materials as we move along. So you are expected every day to have that art kit with you, because if we go into a sudden where we go from phase 1 to phase 0 and we have to go into complete, and all of us are in virtual, I want you to end up having art supplies at home that you can work with. So they should travel back and forth with you every day. When you come to class in person, you're expected to bring your art kit with the supplies in it, okay? So what about coming to class in person? So as soon as you enter my room, you're going to wash or sanitize your hands. I have changed the arrangement of the room a little bit so that there's a lot more space near the sink. So 6 feet of separation means that you are going to put your arms out to both sides, like you're flying, you know, like you used to when you're a little kid. And if you can touch someone else's hands, and if you turn in a circle and you can touch someone else, you are too close. So you want to make sure that you are keeping your distance. I did not put a bunch of little X's or dots or whatever on the floor to show 6 feet of separation. But you do need to be aware of that. And so you're going to come in, you're going to wash your hands or sanitize them, either one. There will be hand sanitizer in the rooms as well. You must always have a mask on. That is the school's rule. Currently, that is the governor's rule, and we need to be respectful of that. So, and it's my rule as well. So I would like you to please obey that. It's not a political thing. It's just the way it is. And there are studies that prove that masks help us all with containing, not containing, but, you know, keeping the virus in check. So please wear a mask. If you are really, really having an issue and you need a mask break, I'm going to try, and about halfway through each of my classes, I'm going to try to take us outside as long as the weather's cooperative, and we're going to take a little 5-minute, 3-minute mask break where you'll have a chance to spread out, breathe some fresh air, take your mask off, and then come back in. I'm going to try to do that every single class. Sometimes it might get away from me, or sometimes it might be pouring out or whatever, but we're going to try to do that. Okay. You'll notice the tables are set up in sort of like pods. So there's 4 tables per pod. I'm asking you to sit 1 person per table. There's one class that's a little bit larger, and so you might have to sit with 2 people per table. But I want you to make sure that you have plexiglass between you and the next person, and that you are separated. The tables do have wheels on them, so you can unlock the brakes and you can pull them apart a little bit if we need to, if you're in one of those classes that's a little bit bigger. So again, we're trying to spread ourselves out, and I know this is going to feel sort of weird in some of the classes because some of you guys are in a class of only 10, and it means that on the day you're there might only be 3 to 5 people in class. But that's just the way it's going to be. So like I said, you're going to have this art kit, and you need to use your own supplies and have that art kit with you every day. The art kit has a label on it. The label has a number. I have a spreadsheet that shows that which one's been checked out to which person. You're expected to bring back those supplies. These are not yours to keep. You're using them for the term, and when you're finished with them, you're going to bring them back. Speaking of shared supplies, we do share a lot of supplies in the art room, and so there are some things that aren't going to be in your kit, like glue sticks and scissors and X-Acto knives and T-squares, because I just don't have the money to buy enough for every single class to have their own separate set, and multiple classes need those tools. So those supplies will be shared supplies, and you will see there's several places set up already around the room that say dirty, clean, and there's like a tray. So the dirty supplies that you've used, let's say for example you go get a scissors and a glue stick, you're going to then spray both of those when you're finished using them, and put them in the sanitized bin. If you don't have time to spray them, you're going to put them in the dirty bin. But you are responsible. Part of being respectful is taking care of your own supplies. So you are responsible for cleaning your own supplies. I have 5 minutes between class to get ready for my next class, to go use the restroom, to get a little sip of something to drink. I don't have time to be sanitizing supplies between classes. So this only works if you follow through and take care of your own supplies. Again, it's part of that respect thing. So be respectful of the rules of the classroom and of how we're going to work through this. You're going to be cleaning your table and all touched surfaces at the end of class. So there is spray sanitizer. You're going to spray the table, the edges of the table, your stool, anywhere where you touched with your hands. We're going to try our best to be like normal about this and not be freaking out about it. I will do my best to give you a little bit extra time with cleanup, because I know there's just a couple extra things now I'm asking you to take care of. So it might take us a little bit longer to clean at the end of class. I think it would be a good idea to get in the habit of also cleaning the plexiglass after each class, because I do think it's going to get gross pretty quickly. So you'll notice when you come in the art room, there is a plexiglass divider in my space. And I'll talk about my space in just a minute, not the old school like social media thing, but the space in the classroom that belongs to me. So anyway, hopefully you guys are so young that you don't even know what my space is. But anyway, so please clean your table, clean your supplies, take care of your own materials. You're going to be having a portfolio. You're going to have an art kit. The art kit needs to travel with you. Right now, the art kits are just Ziploc bags. We did order containers, but they haven't arrived yet. So for now, the Ziploc bag is what you have. So please take good care of that, put it in a safe place. Make sure the supplies don't get crushed, things like pastels and that. They get gross and unusable if they're crushed, so please be careful. And then the last thing you'll do before you leave the classroom is you will wash your hands. Hopefully when you get to your next class, the teacher's making you wash and sanitize your hands again, because you know, you could touch something on the way, so it's important that we do that. So when you leave the classroom, the door is a push door. Instead of touching it with your hand, just use your arm, the forearm, and push forward to go out of the room. So that I'm being kind of picky about this. I really need your help with this, because like I said, the art room is an extra touched part of the school. So digital learning spaces, we're going to be setting this up on the first day of class, but there is the art department link, and I'm not going to actually click here now. I'll do this individually in each class, but I'd like you to bookmark that. It has been shared with you on each Canvas page. There's also the art blog. We do have a blog, and usually I'm the one that writes on it, but sometimes Mr. Lamp was sometimes writing on it, and this year hopefully Miss Olson will write on it too. And both of these are really cool, because these this website and this blog is where we kind of tell the world about the art program. So a lot of times your own artwork is going to be out there, okay? We also have a Google folder. Each class has their own Google folder, so I'm going to share that with you on the first day of class, and you're going to want to bookmark it and add it to your drive, so it's really easy for you to use. The Zoom links to join class will always be shared on Canvas, like you found today. I'm trying to do my meetings as recurring meetings. So what that means is that I think the same link is supposed to work all week for that meeting. I hope that's how it works. If it doesn't, I will fix it, and we'll take care of it. So the only other thing I want to mention about Zoom is Zoom does not allow me to set up meetings that are not on the hour and half hour and 15-minute mark. So classes that start at like 55, I can't actually put that time in. So instead of 7:55, it's going to start at 8. I have made it so that you can join the class before the Zoom meeting before it starts, before the instructor starts. I will do my best to manually start the meetings early so that you can get in without a problem. And then last but not least, please make sure that you read your email, okay? It's really important. It's the main form of communication. I know last year people got kind of overwhelmed with email because teachers were sending so many emails to send you your Zoom links, etc. So that is why all Zoom links are being shared in Canvas instead of me sending a separate email for every single meeting. That would get insane, okay? So please read your email. You should at least check it at the beginning of a class or the end of a class to make sure that there's nothing important there from a teacher, okay? So check it a couple times throughout the day. I think it'd be great to get in the habit of checking it once during a class per class. Okay, so I did mention, and I'm not in my classroom, I'm at home right now, but I did mention that there's a space in my room that's mine. So I no longer have an office. My office got taken away because they need it for some other stuff, and so I don't have an office anymore. There's still an art storage room, but it's not really an office. So my classroom will now be where I spend my preps and will be where I spend most of my time. Those of you who know me and have had me before, you know that the office was where I hung out a lot of times. So please make sure that you are respectful of my space, okay? I don't ever want to see a student coming up to my desk and going into the drawers and taking things out of it. If I went up to your backpack and took something out of it that belonged to you, you would not like that. So please respect my desk area as mine. Also, in terms of COVID, you know, this is my little safe space. I'm taking care of cleaning it. I don't want a bunch of other people touching it. All right. We need to be respectful of that. So I'm asking you to please respect my space. You will notice that attached to the desk, when you see it, there is plexiglass on the side, and there's sort of like a side table, and it's all set up for us to have individual meetings. So those of you who've had me before, you know that I like to meet with you one-on-one a lot so that I can see what you're thinking. We can look in your sketchbook at your planning, and we have lots of individualized discussions throughout the term. So I have set up an individual meeting space. Those of you who were in the art room last year, you know we had that cool lounge. Sadly, we don't have it anymore. It'll come back someday, but it can't exist right now because the custodians don't want to be responsible for cleaning fabric furniture, and sadly a lot of what we had for the little lounge was fabric. So so my area where I'm going to meet with you individually is what was the lounge area, but it'll still be cool, and we'll have our meetings and stuff. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, I know some of you used to be part of my tea party. You'd come spill the tea with me during resource first thing in the morning. What I mean by that is you'd come in and talk to me and chat and say hi. You might even bring in a cup of tea, or if you needed some hot water, I actually had a teapot back here, which I still have in my classroom, and I'd let you make a cup of tea. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that because of germs and because of COVID. So I do still have my own teapot, but I'm not going to be able to let students use it at this time. If you need to have food or drink, I'm going to ask you to please eat it outside of my classroom. I don't want any food or drink in the classroom. If you need to have a drink of water while you're in class, you're going to just step outside the door, take your mask down, have your drink, and then pop back in. If you have to have a snack, please take care of it the same way. You know, I get it. I get hungry too, and I understand. So please make sure that you're being respectful of those rules. And then the last thing I'll just say is, you know, you guys all want to get to know me as a person. I have a lot of new students this term that I've never had before. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Mrs. Bjork. I've actually been in Pewaukee. This is my 20th year as an art teacher in Pewaukee. I started at the middle school, and I've taught not just art, but I've also taught English. I taught Acer Enterprises, which was the entrepreneurship class. I've taught some tech ed classes, graphic arts. I've taught face classes. I used to teach the fashion class that the school offered. So I've taught in a variety of departments, a variety of classes, but my favorite is teaching in the art program at the high school. I love what I'm doing. Prior to the 20 years here in Pewaukee, I used to live in California. And when I lived there, I was a first grade teacher, and I also did some web design for a couple years while I lived out there. I then moved back to Wisconsin. I'm originally from here because I had 2 kids at that time who were young, and we wanted to buy a house, and California is really expensive. So we moved back to Wisconsin, and we bought a house. We live in Brookfield, and my kids grew up there. They went to the Elmbrook schools, and they now are both full grown. So my daughter is 28, and my son is going to be 31 in January. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona. My daughter lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And she is actually a teacher. My son is an artist and for a cosplay company, and my daughter is a teacher. She teaches ESL. So that's who I am. My husband is awesome, and he helps me a lot. Sometimes he goes on field trips with us. He is retired, believe it or not, and but he does help out here a lot. So you'll see him around sometimes. I used to have a cat named Sasha, and I used to have a dog named Sophie, but they both passed away in the last couple of years. So right now I am petless. I love cats, and I love dogs, and I love animals. You'll hear me talk a lot about all of that. I also love to garden. I make my own art. I would consider myself a photography person, but I also love doing kind of mixed media things. I often do watercolors just for fun to relieve stress. And so that's who I am as a person. So I look forward to getting to know you guys better. And I think that's all I've got now for this video. So we will get into class stuff right now.